Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Puddcast. This is episode 116. My guest today is Jason Petty, better known as Propaganda. He's a hip-hop artist, poet, spoken word artist, and author. He's got a brand new book out called Terraform, Building a Better World. So Prop and I talk today about identifying the factors that build our identity, our origin stories, the things that have become normal for us that we just take for granted that maybe we shouldn't, and holding our opinions and experiences lightly, appreciating the long arc of diverse human history as we look to build a better world, one where everyone can flourish and thrive. Prop has so many cool, amazing thoughts. One thing we didn't actually talk about at all is hip-hop. So if you came here expecting a hip-hop interview, my apologies. We talked about everything else. So that's not here. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Great stuff in here. And if you're looking for links to his book or for the text transcription of this, you'll find that in the show notes at jonathanpuddle.com/podcast. Let's go. Propaganda, welcome to the show. This is exciting. Glad to have you here.
What up, what up, what up? Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
So like I was saying just before, I'm new to you. I'm like, I've been immersing myself. I've been listening to the music. I've been reading the book, and I'm like just soaking it all up. And I'm loving everything that you're doing and all your words and all these fascinating different sources that make up who you are and these flavors and threads that inform you. But I would love maybe for you to introduce yourself to me. I'm your newest friend. And tell me a bit about yourself.
All right. You're my newest friend. Okay. Well, I mean, first of all, it's like there's 8 billion humans on the planet. So there's the vast majority have never heard my work. So like, I'm never shocked when somebody's like, oh, I've never heard of you. I'm like, yeah, about right. You know? But yeah, my name is Prop. I am from South Central Los Angeles. I moved around a lot in the LA and surrounding areas. I fell in love with hip hop very young. And it kind of became, in a lot of ways, a North Star for navigating childhood, navigating preteen life, and then politics, culture, and even like, you know, my beliefs, you know, justice, religion, all of it, like kind of through this sort of experience of hip hop. And then father of 2, I got 2 daughters. I got a teenager and a toddler. So 15 and 5. I don't know what we was thinking. So I spend my days cleaning various hairs out of drains. You know, that's pretty much my days. And I got a wife who's PhD in educational policy and social context. A lot of times guys are like, oh man, I married up. And I'm like, no, really, I did. She's out of my league. No, she's really out of, like, it's, she's a doctor. Good. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not, like, a lot of times dudes are just saying that because that's the right thing to say. I'm like, yeah, but mine's a doctor. You know, so there's that, you know.
I had my wife guesting on a podcast recently, and because I had Tiffany Bloom on the podcast here talking about why we silence women. And I said to her that I'm glad I married a strong woman, that I'm glad I married this powerful, educated, intelligent woman. You know, and she was like, yeah, come on, say it once more for the people in the back. Well, my wife had never heard me say that.
Wow.
And when we did a B-side later, she cried and she said, I never really thought that you were glad.
Wow.
So anyway.
That's interesting, man, because my wife tells me to stop saying it. She's like, it's too much pressure, man. Every time you talk, you just big me up like I'm just like this, like Einstein. And I'm like, well, you are. And she's just like, man, it's too much. Yo, chill. Like, so she's like, I'm just a human, man. Can y'all chill? I'm like, says the girl with the PhD. So yeah, you're just a human. Got it. Anyway, so that's funny, man. My wife said the opposite. She's like, "Can you chill?" Um, but that's beautiful, man. I guess we're both on a journey in our feminism.
That's it, man.
Yeah. So yeah. So hip hop, poetry. My father was a Black Panther, so that kind of like the justice part of it. I've existed in predominantly Latino neighborhoods, so in Latino and Filipino neighborhoods. So I've had a chance to like really just survey a cross section of culture, that's kind of unique for a lot of people that I grew up so multicultural, you know what I'm saying? And then with the Black Panther father, it kind of like gives me a wide perspective on the world. I've was taught to be very curious. So just kind of hold my thoughts and opinions with an open hand, where it's like equal parts, confidence and humility, that I could be wrong, been wrong before, and just really appreciating just the long arc of history and culture and I'm just fascinated by all of it,
That's so good. I can resonate with so much of that, man. I love
Yeah,
that.
man.
I'd lived in 5 nations by the time I was 5 years old.
Okay, well,
And
you got me there.
But
I lived in 5 nations, but it was all in Los Angeles.
well, then I moved to Toronto, and so it's the same story.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, Toronto. Yeah, you travel the world in Toronto.
Exactly. Oh, my Filipino buddies in Toronto. Yeah. That's great. So I was watching your Instagram, even though I'm on a social media fast, don't tell anybody, but I saw your book just arrived.
Good Lord, man. When you're holding it in your hands, dude, the actual like artifact of it, it's like, and especially because I was a visual artist first. So like I took the creative aspect of like, again, the texture, the imagery and all that, like the color, the font, like I was like hands on all of it. So to see it come together, my homegirl Maria Young, she I've been a fan of hers for a long time. She's a family friend. And I was like, dude, like the artwork's yours, take control, like do what you do. And the way that this mug came together, I'm just like, there's, I still get the butterflies,
Yeah. The cover is like, it's like a tiger caged about to, there's like a caged energy that's like about to leap out off the cover. When the first time I saw it, I was like, yo, yes, this is full of energy. I love this.
Is a book. Yep.
So Terraform, building a better world.
Mm-hmm.
What's this about?
So it's poetry and prose. So it's poetry and short form essay, around this idea of terraforming, which is for all my, science fiction nerds, they know what it is, but it's essentially the idea of like when you find a distant planet in the process of making it inhabitable to be able to like support life is called terraforming. So I took that as sort of a diving board for just an idea of like what we should be doing here. Like, well, because I don't know if you've been around last couple years, it's getting less and less livable, like quite literally with our destruction of the planet, but socioculturally, and wars. I mean, my Lord, like what's happening in the freaking Fertile Crescent of, Mesopotamia, where culture started, you know what I'm saying? They're bombing each other back to the Stone Age. So like, it's becoming less inhabitable, so I thought about like, what if we took that attitude and approached our world now, like as if we were terraforming Earth? Like, what would we do different? What would we do better? What would we maintain? What would we stop doing? And so it's just a journey in that to really just stretch your imagination, on what could be,
Yes.
Yeah.
At the end of the first chapter, I don't know if it was the first chapter because there's like an introduction and then there's a few different.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm reading this book and I'm like, what am I even reading? This is wild.
That's the hope, man.
I'm enjoying it. And so, you asked all of us to make a list of everything that's normal, that maybe shouldn't be normal.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's fun. And then I'm in my podcast research brain. And so I'm going to read on. But I thought, no, hold on. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this.
What'd you come up with? Did you come up with anything?
Okay. Here's the very first thing I came up with. Non-white male bodies are almost universally sexualized.
Yes.
That is normal and probably
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
Yeah. I love it.
Like, first of all, I was like, women's bodies are sexualized. And then I was like, it's bigger than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just non-white male bodies. That's good.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. So then I'm like, okay, to apologize when you cry or show other strong emotions in public.
Yeah. Dude, I like your list so far, man. Okay.
I mean, that's probably because I grew up with big emotions. And,
Yeah.
and
You're also
still,
Canadian.
I've journeyed with that.
Yeah.
But I'll sit down with somebody, and for a glimpse, you see the fullness of their imago Dei with feelings and tears. And then they say, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for
Get back in the box.
Yeah, making this weird. It's like, yeah, why is that weird?
For real.
We all do it. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. It's normal to want more things.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
I read, this is probably not news to a lot of people, but I read something in the last year or so that was basically just like, okay, describing my white Western Canadian lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, if everybody on this planet had your lifestyle, like the planet would be toast in like 18 months.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, it'd be all bad. 2 cars, I
have 2 fridges. I have 3 fridges. And yet I seem to want more. So that's not sustainable.
No, not at all.
To want to look young, fit, and sexy at all times.
Yeah. What's up with us in the 20s?
Seriously.
Like why the 20s? Why our 20s? Why is that the decade?
It's
probably the dumbest decade of mine.
Right? Is it?
Yeah.
Man. I mean, I'm starting to go gray on the top here, and I'm I want to feel good about it.
Yeah. That's good.
This is the one that's really hitting me thanks to interviews with wonderful people like yourself that are teaching me.
Mm-hmm.
Normal, but maybe shouldn't be, to feel like my experience of life is the archetypal experience of human life on this planet.
Yeah. My experience is the normal one. Yeah.
I mean, someone said to me the other day on this show, it's not normal to even be white.
No.
And I had never had cause.
Yeah, it's like most humans are not.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Wow.
I'm trying to camp on that one because clearly it's formed my entire life.
Yeah.
And continues to form me, but I'm like, this is really real.
That's good. Man, I never even thought of that either until you said it. It's like, yeah, actually it's not really normal. There's very few of you in relation to the rest of the world when you add it all together. That's interesting. I like that. Whoever told you that's brilliant.
Do you feel normal as a Black man? Or have all of this conspired to not make you feel normal?
Man, it's crazy. It's like, I always think about like context is king in the sense that it depends on where I'm standing, I know and I fought back at it for so long. Like I said, in a Black Panther home, Black was beautiful. It wasn't until I stepped outside and I thought everybody else was crazy for not thinking that Black was beautiful, So it seemed as though just living obviously in America, like America did its best to tell me that I was the other, but when you're in sort of a supportive community, you're like, well, that can't be true. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it's just this, like, there's a lot of just feelings of just like contradictory, just this like weird dystopian, like this dissonance to where you're like, dissonance to where it's like, I don't feel like I'm an other, and I'm like, cause I have 13 aunts and uncles, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they got all kids and then there's our friends. And then what do you mean? You know what I'm saying? And then and it's like, I'm in this Latino neighborhood and I'm like, I know I'm different from them, but I have my family and I have this, like, but I didn't. Yeah. I think my normalcy, if I'm going to say, it wasn't necessarily as a Black man, cause I fought so hard against that in this Black Panther home. It was more American. made me feel like I definitely took on that, like, well, we're the center of the world and the whole earth speaks English because of us. And you all have to learn English. And we're the apple of God's eye, and I wonder why we're not in Revelation. It's like, well, what kind of question is that? You know what I'm saying? So like, once you grow up and you're like, wow, that's a stupid question. Like, why would you, what do you mean, why are you not in Revelation? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, because half of the scholars in this continent would say, but America is in Revelation, brother.
yeah. I go, I mean, like, are we the antagonists? Like, help me understand where. Yeah.
See, that's the church I grew up in, is like, it's all literal, it's all about America. And I didn't even grow up in America, but like this eschatological,
so weird,
Northwestern exceptional thing. And that only, and certainly we're not the bad guy, right? Like,
couldn't be.
Could possibly be. And
that's so funny, because again, like, I'm sitting in this church and you start reading off the locations and I'm like, well, I'm not stupid. I could see the map right there. Those aren't white people. I don't understand. Like, I just remember being so confused and just shrugging it off, like, oh, well, white people gonna do white people stuff, I guess. And just kind of like just not thinking about it and or thinking about like how, that the rest of the room is not shrugging this off.
Right.
As I am, where I'm just like, well, whatever. Like, like, I'm just like, they don't know what they're talking about, but it's all good, but like realizing everybody else is like, no, that's what it is. And you're like, oh, y'all believe that? Like, oh, wait, we're seriously, you really think this about you? You know what I'm saying?
Jesus has got white hair and blue eyes, obviously.
Yeah, I'm like, y'all know he don't. Y'all really think he look like this? I thought that was just creative license. Everybody don't know. Y'all just take a creative license. Oh no, he don't look this. Here's a map. Don't nobody look like that there. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, here's the thought that just comes to me right now. White people got empire so early that so degraded our own worth and personhood that we have been living with an inferiority complex ever since, and we've just projected that onto onto the planet, onto every other people group. Everything has been some kind of attempt
to
get more, to dominate more, so that we don't feel so small and worthless.
Wow.
And then we taught everyone to feel the same way we were feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's interesting, man. Cause like I often, I think that sort of empire mentality, I'm reading this book called Guns, Germs, and Steel, which is I don't know, you've heard of it?
I haven't read it, but I know it.
Yeah, it's a great book. It has a lot to do with like asking that question, like, why did Europe reach out and colonize the world, and develop cities and in this idea of kingdoms and empires and the desire to expand it? Why didn't it go the other way? How come like the Incans or the Mayans, why didn't they go across the Atlantic and conquer? You know what I'm saying? So, and I mean, there's a few, they obviously, there's a lot of like, there's no way to answer this question. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of that in there, but then there's a lot of like, well, there's factors. It's like, well, did you have large mammals, to be able to like hunt and eat? You know what I'm saying? Did you what about the food? Were you able to domesticate the plants there quicker? You know what I'm saying? And like, and just this idea of, well, if you leave people alone for long enough, are they going to all come up with the same thing? It's just like asking a lot of these questions, and it's saying, basically there's nothing special about, Europe, like genetically, you know what I'm saying, that makes them any different than anybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Our food sucks worse.
Which meant you had to leave.
Planet.
Which means like, yo, we got to go, man. I can't keep eating this. Shit. But yeah, he talks about that, and just like that there's a ton of factors. You can't point at one thing, but I do think it's interesting to say that, like, white people as a modern term, but you were just as tribal as everybody else, and the the Danes and the Goths, the Germanic tribes that took down the Roman Empire, you know what I'm saying? They were just as savage as any other savage anywhere, you know what I'm saying? So having a longer view of history to know that like, yeah, like empires are a normal part of the development of civilization. I think what's so interesting about what happened with white people was the concept of supremacy. And that to me is like, that was the stain, you know what I'm saying? Like empires come and go, and across tribal communities, it was like, yeah, it was about maintaining resources and power. But there was this thing that happened up there that was like, yeah, but we're genetically better. And that to me was like, that's where y'all get that from? You know what I'm saying? And that to me, that one little freaking parasite, like just riddled and destroyed everything, you know? Yeah. So I think that, and yeah, as you said, like it infected us to the point to where even when we are unknowingly affirming this idea of this biological differences that make us stronger or not stronger, which like in a lot of ways have their origins in white supremacy, you know? And like, I catch myself all the time being like, well, you know, Black people, you know, we could just handle blah, 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 blah. It's just in our bones. And it's like, well, is it, you know, or is it, I don't know, man. Is that really how you want to say that? Like, I'm not to say that we're not unique in our experiences, but I think that uniqueness oftentimes have to do with the crucible we went through, you know? But is it in your bones? I mean, I don't know, you know, like, so yeah, that supremacy gene to me is super unique about the whites of the world.
For sure.
The whites. Yeah.
I think that's probably why the Europeans why we all hated Hitler so much, because he made it too obvious.
Yeah, he pointed at it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're not supposed to point at it, bro. Yeah.
Hitler.
Yeah, hey man, don't say the quiet thing out loud, dog.
Talk about it, man, but keep it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this won't work if people are talking about it. We got to keep this under wraps.
Yeah.
So I'm writing down this list of things that are normal and that probably shouldn't be. And I'm looking at your list, you know, and the first thing that you wrote down, at least in the book, is this bipartisan politics.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting because when I read it, I was like, yeah, for sure, that. But when I went to write down my own list, I thought, hold on, that doesn't resonate as much with me. Oh, because I grew up in nations with different political
totally
so walk us through, because what happens next in the book is as soon as you go past this list of like what's normal and can we stop paying attention, you start talking about our origin stories. So why do you start there?
Well, because I feel like it's like, well, before, like, let's back up for a second and be like, how are we constructing our own identities, you know? And however we construct our identities oftentimes come from what we view our origins of. And then that's how we got to normal. You know what I'm saying? So like, well, let's back up a second. Like, well, let's self-critique here. Why am I what this is? Like, you know, like you said, I went into like the partisanship thing, and you're like, well, wait a minute, where'd that even come from? You know? And so I think that like that, wait a minute, you know, is, if we're going to imagine something different, like you have to start there. You have to start at the, wait a minute, like, how did I get to where I am now? You know what I'm saying? What in my historical narrative, you know, again, was the germ to get us to where we are, you know, for better or for worse, because some germs are good, you know, but yeah, what was that? How do we get here? You know? So yeah, that origin story, the truth we tell ourselves, or the stories we tell ourselves that shape how we see ourselves today, is like, that's of utmost important.
You wrote, the beauty of a good story is that it draws out the beauty in us. How do you interface like trying to tell a better story about yourself with, like, I don't know, not ignoring or erasing the bad stuff that like telling us to live in denial?
No, and I try to go out of my way to make that clear, that like, this isn't a denial. it's not a rewriting in the sense that I'm trying to erase the ugly parts, because the ugly parts is a part of the story. The collection of it is the beauty, right? So an example in the book is this idea of what you guys would call First Nations people, is our indigenous, we would say the Apache tribe. They have this, and it's in a lot of tribes, this thing called fry bread, and I just remember asking them, like, I know a lot of tribes that use fry bread. Like, what's the origins of this? I thought there was maybe some sort of like, shared ancestor at some point that came up with this. And it was like, no, it was poverty. It was because we were marched away by the American troops and they gave us a ration of flour and oil. And we just made fry bread, and I'm like, damn, that's terrible, like, and I felt embarrassed that I like brought up this rather ugly past, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, so what's the story here? Is the story that they got marched away and was given this horrible, thing you can't live on? Yeah. Is the story that they took that trash and made treasure out of it? Yes. You know what I'm saying? So the better story, the beautiful story is like, is the treasure out of the trash? It's not ignoring the trash. It's how the trash, how these people were able to make treasure out of it. So like, that's what I mean. It's like, you don't ignore the trash. You don't ignore the ugly. You just, you see how what came out of that ugly, and it doesn't, and again, it don't excuse the ugly. That's still wrong. You know what I'm saying? What happened to them was still wrong to this day, but it's not the only thing. It's not how I identify myself. I don't identify myself solely by my oppression.
Yes.
I identify myself by the totality of who we are,
Yes. Wow. Yeah. Okay, that's good. I like that. I had a buddy in high school. He was probably one of my first, I guess I'd say, African Canadian friends, maybe my first Black friends.
Yeah.
And his last name was Van Dyke.
Uh-huh.
I remember one time being like, dude, why is your last name Van Dyke? Why don't you have right? What he's
yep.
And I'm like fully naive to this.
No clue. Yeah.
No clue why a Black man might have a Dutch last name. And he spelled it out for me in no uncertain terms. I happen to come from a part of the world,
yes,
where the Dutch rather than the English or American or Belgian, and I'm
yes.
like, oh.
It's like, yeah, like my last name's Petty, so it's always funny when people go, oh, like the race car driver, like Tom or Richard or something. I'm like, yeah, their family probably owned mine. And I just stopped the convo, and they're like, oh.
That's what happened with me and my buddy.
Yeah, he was like, the Van Dyke family owned my ancestors. That's why we have the last name. I'm just like, oh.
I think I probably gave him a hug.
I know, right? Like, hey, man.
16-year-old me, I wouldn't have known what else to do.
Right. So funny, man.
You talk about a bunch actually in the earlier part of the book about the doctrine of discovery.
Yeah.
And how it still shapes our stories. Mm-hmm. For folks who don't maybe fully grasp some of that, can you walk us through a little bit of how,
sure,
how this little papal document?
I mean, it's why we have Canada and America, this papal document, as in the Pope, right? They would put out these different like stances and statements about their theology and their stances on things. So the doctrine of discovery was this idea of like, hey, for the glory of God and of nation and kingdom, you need to do essentially what God told Adam to do, which was like, go and subdue the land, right? And when you do that and bring them under the dominion of the church, right? And when you do that, whoever you are waging war against, well, they are the uncouth savages. So in that sense, you're doing the work of God by, waging, I'm mixing my terms here, but waging what would be considered a holy war against these savages, because they're somehow less
than human
image bearers. They're less human. They have not developed into the fullness of human, yet. And it's your job to do that. So if they die, I mean, this is a casualty of war, of bringing the nations under the submission of God and
Good
country,
news of the gospel.
under the good news of the gospel. So, and we still haven't shaken it. Like, so why the indigenous have such a special sort of place in our brain that we have to keep relearning and going, well, no, they're just as human as the rest of us, unless, as far as like nation states are concerned, is because the doctrine of discovery, how you could still have a slave trade. There's a doctrine of discovery, and just any of these things that are just like, how can anyone who professes to be a believer of the person of Jesus, could you do this to another human? Well, because the church said it was cool. Like, because I'm bringing this, because I'm doing the work of God.
Yeah. Well, George Floyd had counterfeit money.
Well, I mean, yeah, he had a lot of drugs on him. So, it didn't hurt him. Like he was superhuman. He was super strong. And black men, like big black men like that, like they super strong because supremacy, because we're biologically different, right? Yeah. So yeah, we're still in the shadow of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so your point, I think, was not just specifically how the doctrine of discovery shapes us today, but how all of these kinds of stories continue to shape
so
us.
And the importance of looking back at that and going, there it is. That's where the weed got in, so we need to uproot that, and then you'll start seeing a different sort of like harvest coming out of yourself once you found out, like, that's the poison. That's the poison,
We'll take a quick pause to thank my patrons. Big shout out to everybody who supports the show, whether they give monthly or annually or just one-time gifts. Everything is helpful. Everything is appreciated. Everything helps me keep doing this work, bringing these voices to you and writing my books. I've got a bunch of writing planned for this summer while my kids are away, and I'm really looking forward to it. Big shout out to David, who is my latest patron. Thanks for coming on, man. If you are listening to the show, if you're enjoying it, if you would like to support it, if you would like to get access to the B-sides where I unpack these interviews with my friends in greater detail, then you should head to jonathanpuddle.com/support. There you'll find a link to my Patreon. If you want the B-sides, you do need to join Patreon. If you just want to chip in, then you're free to give a one-time gift, and that's wonderful. But if you do want the B-sides, you need to join up for the monthly or annual giving via Patreon, just because that's the way that I actually make it available. So I just don't really have a way of getting that out to you if you don't join up into Patreon, because that's where I put it. So anyway, love to have you, love to get to know you better, love to have closer access to you. That's what Patreon is for. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Love to you all. Let's get back to the show. What happens when we internalize our bad stories? When the only definition we have is, this. For my example, it would be, I'm a colonizer. Like if the only story I believe about myself is, well, my ancestors, they committed these evil, heinous crimes, and I guess I'm my ancestors. Yeah. And, for you, it's going to be a different set of stories. But what happens when we believe the bad stories and internalize those?
I think abuse. I think abuse for yourself, and I think abuse to the people around you. And I think that you start the process of, in your own mind and heart, dehumanizing, and I think it starts with the dehumanization of yourself, that you are not able to reckon with sort of the bits and pieces that made you who you are, and your gift to terraform it, to reshape it, to rethink those things, and to put into practice better stories. You know what I'm saying? But if you just stay there, I think, what the right wing out here calls the victim mentality, I think, well, that's it. That if you're like, this is who I am, and I'm like, all right, well, stay in your house then, if that's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, don't ruin the rest of our experiences because you're not ready to, like, you trying to stay a caterpillar, then I guess go ahead. You're gonna die. It's gonna kill you. You're supposed to become a butterfly. So I think that
metamorphosis is scary.
Yeah, I get it. You have no argument. You're right. It's scary. You could either I mean, you could avoid it or die. So, okay, sure. You know, I've gotten to a place in my own personal life to where I'm like, I'm not gonna fight fights that I don't have to fight, you know. But I am going to present the jewels and gems of the world that I feel like I've been privileged enough to have. I'm not gonna fight you over it. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, like, well, staring into the abyss is scary. And yeah, you're right. Stay where you are then. Yeah, I'm just not gonna stay. Like, I looked into the abyss, you know, I jumped off the cliff. How many metaphors do you want me to use? I looked into it, I stared off and was like, I'm gonna jump.
Yeah.
You know, and turns out it's beautiful on the other side, you know?
That's it.
Yeah.
I was talking to a buddy yesterday and I said, you know, we sit here, we were talking about this in a theological context because we're both in ministry and we get people giving us a hard time when our theology changes. Yeah. And, you know, we're sitting here looking over there being like, oh, that's strange, which means it's probably poison. Yeah. So that's different. That means toxic. Meanwhile, I'm just going to keep eating this garbage that's been making me decades.
Yeah. I always laugh at, especially the theologians, man. That's what I like to call them. When I'm like, all right, so the day you became a believer, you fully understood the atonement, or has your theology changed as it grown? Did you get it then? Yeah, I didn't either, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't get it, and neither did I. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you so afraid? Yeah, that's even this, like, looking into the abyss, a lot of that has to do with like your theology too, coming from our perspective, to where you're just like, you got this naughty list of, you know, that you're not supposed to read of, you're not supposed to eat from their table. And then you go over there and you're like, actually, it's not that bad, you know? And, you know, for me, it was like, especially theologically, it's like you start traveling the world, you're meeting these other circles of people that you taught had horns going out of their heads. And you realize, like, oh, yeah, not only are they just as Christian as I am, their faith's older than mine. You know, and I'm like, oh, you've been working on this longer than me. Yeah, that to me, like, man, when you realize like that, the Western church is like, it's 11% of the body of Christ. Like, the majority of the church don't think like us.
Yeah.
And they've been around longer. So you're like, oh, okay. That's why I started off with like open-handed humility, you know, like, I'm just going to be open-handed about it. If you haven't grown in the last 10 years in your the way you see the world, I'm like, that's a problem.
Yes.
I think you got an idol, man.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Yes, for sure. How important do you think travel or being exposed to just like totally different kinds of narratives are in just exposing your own stories?
It's irreplaceable. It's irreplaceable, you know, and I say this, you know, from a place of privilege, in the sense that I can travel, you know what I'm saying? But that's not to say that person who lives in the remote village can't have a full, beautiful, and live a great life, you know what I'm saying? Because that would be also, again, very, very like global North perspective, you know what I'm saying? That's not to say that, but for the ability to know that there's more than just this jungle, you know what I'm saying? And I say that metaphorically speaking, the jungle of Los Angeles, you know, to know that there's more than this, I see nothing but benefit from it.
There are hamburger options other than In-N-Out.
There are. Yeah. And you're right. You know, they're inferior, but they are there.
Should there be?
Yeah. The question is more, should there be? Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
one of my son, my middle son, all of his best friends at school are from Eritrea.
Yes.
Now we've got this little community of Eritrean families who've all escaped horrific things, survived in insane levels of adversity to make it to Canada. And
the mom
sweet, lovely lady who my wife is probably going on a walk with in 20 minutes, said to us the other day, wow, the government is giving us more money. The government keeps giving us support because we're on lockdown and because of COVID and the schools are closed, but the government is just handing out cash to us to help us. It's so strange that the government would help us.
Yeah.
And her entire framework of what the government is and isn't doing right now is completely different.
Yeah.
Because all my white friends are complaining about how the government is not allowing us to go to barbershops. You can see from my beard. But her whole perspective on what the government is and isn't doing, totally different.
Yeah. It's all perspective, you know what I'm saying? And like how you have, the reality is like, yeah, you just, I think C.S. Lewis says like, if with reading, you get 1,000 set of eyes, you know what I'm saying? And I'm paraphrasing, obviously. So you having all these like Eritrean, and East African Habesha, like people in your life, like you just got a brand new set of eyes, and it helps you like reflect back at yourself. Like, what am I really worried about? Like, can't go to the barbershop. All right. Okay.
Right.
You got scissors, fam? Like if you can cut a beard if you want to, Yeah.
So you lead us into prophetic imagination.
Yes.
You ask us to do what's necessary to cultivate a prophetic imagination, and dream of a bigger world a different world rather, not a bigger world.
Yes.
See, bigger is a way that I am conditioned to the culture. Of a different world that we can then go to make. What would you leave us with?
Man, that the sky's the limits, bro. Like, is that like imagination got us where we are now, but if you look back at something and you're like, yo, I don't like how this is, then think of something else, and accept that norms are made. We make norms, so let's make new ones. I want to leave people not with like, you should do this, but like, you can come up with what should is. Like, use the sky. I can't stress this enough. The sky's the limits, bro. Like, use your imagination. All of our norms were made up. All of our institutions were made up, so then let's make up new ones. Because we clearly, we need new ones, so we got to make them up. It's on us.
Yeah. Word.
Yeah.
So I know you're a coffee snob, and we've just been talking about East Africa. So how much do you love an Ethiopian coffee ceremony? You like it black and sweet? Popcorn?
You see the coffee bar.
Yeah.
There, right? No, there's nothing like it. Getting the Jebana together and like, there's nothing like it. It was the one time in my life I ever felt like, okay, this is timeless. Time has stopped. I'm truly present, sitting in a village in Ethiopia, drinking after a coffee ceremony in the back of like a convenience store where this lady lives with, and just, dog, there's nothing that my life will never be the same after sitting there, like it wasn't the tourist one. It was some lady's house who was like, hey, you want some coffee? And I was like, yes, I want some coffee, and just the smell, the popcorn, like, it was, there's nothing like it.
Because we did the colonizer thing to the coffee too, like everything else. And you.
Yeah, and there's a poem in there about that. It's coffee word, man. Yeah,
that's ours too. And I remember.
Yeah.
And it's sitting with this Eritrean family, and she said we would. It was our first time, and they cooked for us, and then they said, this is what we would do next. Would you have coffee with us?
Have a similar.
I could tell that there was a sacredness to this. I was a little ignorant to it, but I could tell that this was an invitation, and so like.
Yeah. And what they'll tell you is this, dude, I know it's the same. I know it's like this in Ethiopia. Like if we didn't like the company, your company, they'll offer you tea because tea is fast. Tea's fast. Like coffee is going to take 45 minutes to an hour. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if I'm saying, hey, you want to sit down and have coffee with us? It's like, okay, we actually are enjoying our time and we're enjoying your company. And we want to have conversation with you. We want to continue what we're doing, because it's not fast. It's very slow, and once you know that about the culture, it's like, yeah, it just means so much more, you know, the sacredness of it. Like, and especially like you have something that was discovered in the 1600s. It's like you had 500 years to perfect it. Of course you're going to perfect it better than the rest of us, you know. And that's another thing I love about it. I'm like, y'all figured it out. You had 500 years to figure this out, and you did. And I know there's like some beef, you know, between like Eritrea, Ethiopia, Yemen, like who did it first and who made it better. I'm just like, I have no skin in the game, except that my ancestors are Ethiopian. So like, I'm gonna vote this, but I ain't find out till recently. So like, don't quote me on it. But the point is, I'm like, I'm just glad y'all did it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, would you give us a prayer or a blessing or some kind of benediction, maybe upon our imaginations?
Yeah, man. I guess right now my heart and soul is with, you know, my mind's on Palestine, you know, and sort of the just the scourge of what we were talking about, just this idea of empire and like the modern nation state and expanding borders, just the geopolitical part of it, you know, that's very separate from the humans that exist inside these made up borders. You know what I'm saying? Like the humans that exist inside are the ones that are experiencing the pain and suffering of this, like, you know, institution that continues to throw bombs. You know what I'm saying? So my heart is heavy for, you know, the people of the region. And so I guess I just echo, you know, the cry of, you know, the prophets of that era, you know, which is like, man, I pray for peace in the land, you know, and we would not continue to abuse our fellow image bearer. And like, you know, I don't know how your listeners would take this, but like my finger is pointed at the nation state of Israel, you know, because in this scenario, you're the bullies. You know what I'm saying? You got the guns, you know, and you're doing the empire thing, man. Like, you know, and I know I don't live there, but it's kind of hard to not see, you know, this is not a critique on Israelis or on Judaism. I'm talking about the post-World War II nation state doing what nation states do, you know? So I guess my heart is like, man, may there be just peace and tranquility and a recognition of family across these imaginary lines, you know what I'm saying? And that, you know, this brother against brother, man, like, just pray that God would just cause it to end, man. Like, y'all family, like, you don't see this, you don't see you family, you know? And yeah. So I guess my prayer would be to echo, now I just pray for peace in the land, dude.
Amen. Thank you, Prop. Really enjoyed that connection. We had a bunch of discussion off air as well. So go and check out his book, Terraform, Building a Better World. It's like a mixture of poetry, essays, artwork, all written or chosen by Prop to challenge us to like imagine a different world, a better world, and to do the work of transforming, of terraforming this world into that better world. And it's fun. It's really quite a unique kind of project. I really enjoy it, recommend it. It's a great resource to jolt your imagination, to shift even your creative flow and your problem-solving perspectives about the world. Stop paying attention to things that maybe you've stopped paying attention to. So go check that. It's in the show notes. Of course, also go and check out Propaganda on Spotify and Apple Music. This hip-hop will fill your soul with fire and energy and get your feet a-dancing as well. Prop also has a really great couple of podcasts. He does a bunch of stuff himself, and then with his wife, he hosts the Red Couch podcast together, and they talk about all manner of important things. So go check that out. You'll find those linked in the show notes. Friends, in other sad news, some of you will know Steve Austin. He did a bunch of amazing work in the mental health space. and he died over the weekend. Steve was a friend and colleague. He was due to be on the podcast in the fall. So I'm hoping to still be able to do something around his forthcoming book, Hiding in the Pews, Erasing the Stigma of Mental Health in the Church. I think that would be really wonderful if we can still do something about that book and help promote it, help support his family. There is a GoFundMe available now for Steve's family, so if you would like to give, that would be a blessing to me to know that we had stood by his family at this time. You'll find that linked in the show notes and on my social media. Still asking that his family's privacy be respected and they be given space to process and grieve. But if you are processing and grieving that yourself, just know that we're here. Many of us are thinking about many of you. Remember that grief is not a linear process. The heart moves at the speed the heart moves. Get angry. Be gentle with yourself. Drink lots of water. Go slow. Let it all flow. And pray for his wife and kids. Much love, my friends. We'll talk soon.